I'm talking with Sarah Thomas, Vice President for the Harvard Library and previously Bodley's librarian at the University of Oxford. I have a couple of questions for Sarah, whose advocacy I've heard in presentations before. First question for you, Sarah. You are often, as we all are, more often called upon to make the case for libraries in what often seems to us to be an increasingly skeptical or doubting or even competitive environment. So could you share with us, please, how is it that you make that case? What do you think your major talking points are, and how do you make those points?
Well, one of the ways in which I approach that skepticism is to address it head on. For example, I've just given a talk recently where I begin by using all the examples that I have collected, or many of them, which say, who needs a library anymore? Why don't we just give everyone a Kindle? Everything is digital. How can a library compete with Google? I like particularly something called the extinction timeline, which shows about 2019 that libraries will be virtually irrelevant to society. So you take all of those things and then you begin to examine them. You talk about people's perception of a library. A library acquires and stores books. A library is a space with quiet reading rooms. It is a building. And then you can begin to break those down and talk about the ways in which libraries have changed. So you can talk about the presence of social spaces in libraries, whether it's a cafe or a more conversational style. And you can make the point that as things have become digital, people are finding their information in different ways, and they're satisfying their needs for certain types of information electronically. But in fact, we enjoy at, not just at universities, but in society, events in which people come together, whether it's a concert or some other event, or in the case of universities, it's that human interaction which we enjoy. So you can begin to move from the familiar, sort of the old stereotype of the library as a building which stored books and was there for quiet contemplative reading, say, although we're not jettisoning that, that's still very much a part of us. But what's happened in life is that we have many more choices, we have much more diversity, and so we build into our work this new way of interacting. And then I would move from talking about the library as place into the new roles that librarians play. And it's not just in the interpretation and navigation of digital resources where they may not be as familiar to us as a codex, but that they are, it's more about ways in which librarians are generating excitement and enthusiasm for learning, and where they're partnering with other organizations, whether it's on campus or in the community. So it's moving from that sort of solo practitioner into someone who is collaborative, reaching out and really partnering, and has very high level skills. So that's another transition that librarians and libraries have undergone, is moving from an organization that had a lot of clerical staff working to manage an inventory which can now be managed quite differently, into something where there's an intellectual contribution about the nature of our cultural record. And so that's an extremely important thing as well.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing your experience and perspective with us.